Hey friends. Um, so I've had something. This is funny. This has been some. This is kind of like, and I think I've even alluded to this in one of my previous posts. But so I've talked about tuning into the kind of spiritual radio station, right? And my sense of insights showing up that I'm receiving, I'm tuning into them. I'm tuning into this dimension of intelligence and wisdom and knowledge. And it's like everything in the universe is available. And I believe I talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago when I had was in the midst of this meditation training that we did as part of the piano teacher training, and the insight that showed up there, to quickly recap, is that if that's actually how this works, this whole awareness thing, if it's actually true that our psyche is tuning into information. In other words, that information doesn't get generated by the brain. That the brain is like a processing center, but it's receiving from somewhere else, right? Which in the age of the way that our electronic devices work now is not a difficult image to grasp, even if we can't yet scientifically explain how this kind of human psychic process works. We've got an awful lot of good allegories for how that might work. And if that's true, then the teaching process of sitting next to a student, or virtually being connected to a student, the teaching process is a matter of helping them tune in. It's the whole idea of giving them information that's ours, and again, it's not that doesn't happen also. Like I imagine teaching music theory. When I teach music theory, I explain our Western conception of how tonality works. I deliver the information. But that information has to be embodied. It has to hit their brain and then coalesce into their kind of tuned in version of that. And God knows, when you're sitting in a classroom, you can tell whose radio is tuned in and whose isn't. But so anyway, that's kind of like a preamble to my point today, because that's essentially my experience, and I've just had so many years now of experiencing a connection to a form of intelligence that is not mine, that I'm completely convinced that this is how it works. So what the kind of the mildly sort of, I say it with some humility and self-effacement, because I will listen to the spiritual radio station and get this information, and my mind loves to frame it as though it is advice that I should be giving someone else. I will be running the kind of like teacher tape talked about my angry tape. My angry tape is when I just replay a bunch of stuff that I'm upset about, and I get more and more and more upset about it. And I haven't done that in quite a while, actually. Gotten better about not playing the angry tape, but the teacher tape still plays. I will be full of incredible wisdom to deliver to whoever might be in my mind listening to it. But it only sometimes occurs to me that I'm the student, that I'm the one who's supposed to be listening to the advice, because my mind loves to presume that because I can receive the advice, because I'm capable of tuning into this wisdom, that I must therefore already be living it. And that is not necessary. One does not follow from the other. And it's funny to me how many times I'll have this bit of wisdom show up, this insight, whatever it is, advice show up, and think that I know whom it's for. Maybe there's somebody in my life, or maybe I just imagine people or a group of people, a person. And so there's this internal sermon that I'm giving. And then I go, wait, what if I'm not beyond this insight? What if I'm not, what if this is one for me to just go, oh, I see. What if I can take a little reflection off of it? It amounts in a similar way to what I was saying yesterday, the art of seeing the obvious. When these things are showing up for us, what if they're about us? This may not be your problem. This may not be something. I mean, I'm sure other people can relate to this, but this feels like it's my own way, my own personal, my ego's way of avoiding that relatively penetrating and accurate kind of scrutiny of myself, not scrutiny in a bad way, but like just a really present observer. I imagine sometimes when I'm sitting in the presence of a great teacher, it's like you have that feeling of like they can see right through you. I've had this experience on stage, in performance training. I've had this experience as a pianist. I've had this experience even with writing and practices. But then when they're shared with people who really know what they're doing, and it's like they can see right through you. They have all the craft and all of the awareness. It just be boom, see right through the heart of it. And I wonder, like, what if that was possible to do that for ourselves? What if we could be that much in the presence of that really all-seeing, conscious gaze? And I kind of feel like the spiritual radio station is that. It's tapping into a level of our own psychic capacity that can truly leverage that much awareness upon our own moment-to-moment life. And because it's incredibly intense, my mind goes, well, maybe it's not about me. Maybe it's about somebody out there. Maybe it's about that. Maybe it's about this. Maybe, it's like I take it and it comes in, it's like, and I have to like externalize it again. But what if it's coming through from me? And I mean, oh my God, what that means is there's a coaching program that by all rights should cost millions of dollars that I have access to. What's the difference between coaches that you pay a little bit and coaches that you pay a lot, or the coaches that you pay a lot don't mess around. They don't have time, and you have paid for them, so you don't mess around either. This is like the ultimate version of that. This is like that taken to infinity, and it can show up in our life for free. Unfortunately, it doesn't cost millions of dollars, so we don't necessarily know what if you spend $1 million on a coaching program, well, you trust that there's something coming through that you need, because otherwise you wouldn't have spent $1 million on it. Not that anybody spends $1 million on coaching. Who spends $1 million on coaching? The people who personally hire Tony Robbins, I guess. But my point is, because we don't pay for it, I think I feel, let me speak for myself, capable of kind of receiving it and going and not necessarily letting it impact. I put it on a swoopy slide and I go, oh, thank you for that. Whoosh. Send it out. But if I could listen to that, if I could recognize the spiritual radio station is talking about me, that's why it's talking to me. I think there's an awful lot of good wisdom there. So that's where I am today. It's helpful to realize the ways in which what we know and what we have access to are being not fully received. Because, man, what if I can receive it? That'd be amazing. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate you. So much love. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow.